Okay, so whatever word comes first or phrase that comes first to your mind when you see Native Americans. It can be around it. It doesn't have to be right next to it. Get a thought, put it down, and then share the marker with somebody else. And try not to replicate. Alright, so let's just go over the words we have, and we're going to quickly discuss them, and if they're right, great, and if they're wrong, we're just going to dispel them and fix them, your ideas, and then we'll move on. Alright, so tribes. Austin, you know tribes, right? I like that. Now, what did you mean by tribes?
They work kind of like families. They live together in tribes of kind of villages of 10 people.
Sure.
Together.
And what I like that you didn't just put just one group. It wasn't just tribe. There are hundreds of Native American tribes throughout the United States. Okay, there's not just one. There's hundreds. I like that. Good job. Hunters, you put that. You also did that? What did you mean by that?
They hunted animals for food.
Sure. You could also put hunters and gatherers because usually they had jobs. Someone would gather fruits and berries and things like that as well, or other materials to make something else. All right. Runners from tribe to tribe for messages. What did you mean by that?
I think they had these designated runners that would run from different tribe station to tribe station, delivering messages.
Okay. Now see, the fun thing is I did see something about that in one of the books I read. They went on horseback if their tribes were further. But other than that, I have not run across that. But it would be interesting to find out if I can find more about that. Because I think you are right, though. They did have people, if there was a doctor in one tribe and they needed them or something like that, they would go over and bring them back. So that was good. Feathers. What did you mean when you said feathers?
They always wore it on their hats or something.
Yeah. Now I will tell you, not all Native Americans wear feathers. So not all of them wear those beautiful head guards. They don't all wear them. Okay. Some they just don't. But that I want to find out more about that. Research more about that too to find out. But I think that's somewhat of a stereotype. Okay. That all Native Americans wear that. Yes, ma'am.
Well, on the Study Island thing, I read this story, and it says every feather represented when they were in war, they earned a feather.
Okay. I like that. I like the way you connected that too. Yes.
On Sunday, when we went to the powwow, and there was a Native American powwow. It was great.
Did you ask him any questions, or did you find any information about anything that we have up here, or is that why you wrote something that you wrote?
Yeah, so I was.
Okay, then I'll find out in a minute then. Okay, bow and arrow, who wrote that? Good.
They used it to hunt, and it's also their main range weapon until the pilgrims brought guns.
Correct. And actually, one of the books I read was talking about that, how some tribes went by how wealthy they were if they had horses and or guns. They were considered very wealthy if they had both. Poor, but not quite so poor if they at least had horses. So you're right. Until the gun came over from England, you're right. That's exactly how they did things. Who's Mrs. Byatt?
Miss Byatt is our social studies teacher. She kind of she was.
Is she Native American?
No.
Okay.
She taught us about what's underneath the that.
Okay, she taught about that. Okay, great. What brought to your head?
Yeah, and I remember something else.
Okay. Trail of Tears. Go ahead.
It's when the Native Americans got kicked out of their house, they had to walk a whole bunch of miles to a different area, and people kept picking them out, and so a lot of people died.
No, that's great because that's a great point to make. One of the books I'm reading, they got kicked out. Remember I was telling you about the guns. If a tribe had guns, they would kick them out of their area, and they'd have to go up to a mountain or some other area and make their new life there. So that's great. They didn't use the words Trail of Tears, but I like that because that makes sense to me. Animal skin clothes. Yes.
Well, they would like kill the animals and then they'd make like they make weapons out of them and they'd use like the buffalo horns.
Yeah. If they kill an animal, they use every part of it, not just for food, but they also use materials to make housing, make clothing, moccasins, different type of things depending on what they needed. But good. Christopher Columbus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me.
Okay.
A lot of people believe that Christopher Columbus was the one to like discover. He thought he discovered India, but he came
The
to
West Indies, right?
America.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right, but so that's why everyone calls Native American Indians, and as an Indian, I think that's gross at all.
Yeah, what I actually am impressed with is that no one put the word Indian. You guys must have been through the years and taught Native American, and which is fine. And if someone did put Indian or Indian American, we would have addressed it. But I'm impressed that no one put that. I would have thought that would have come up, but it did not. Christopher Columbus did do not right by the Native Americans. A lot of slaughtering. One of the books I'm going to read, it talks about the first Thanksgiving. And it's not like happy-go-lucky the way they all see it in pictures and things, where everyone's like, oh, come, let's have dinner, let's break bread together. It doesn't go down that way. But good. Tribes we already discussed. Moved out of their homes. Okay, anything?
Well, it was like the Trail of Tears. They were kicked out of their homes and they had to like move because they weren't.
Because they kicked them out force.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, good. Hunting for buffalo. I think we discussed that with the food, but you want to give me more?
I have another word.
All right, again.
Like the dancing that they did.
Okay.
They did like a lot of like.
There's dancing and singing, celebration. Yes, there is. Great. Buffalo, we discussed the teepees. Who's that? Yes.
They lived in them.
Yeah, they didn't all live in them all the time, but they did have teepees, and then they would use skins of animals, a lot of times on the outside, to keep them from warm. What?
In 5th grade, we made
Oh,
teepees out of salt
yeah.
top.
Okay. All right, so it's something that you remembered. Sacagawea. Spelling is wrong, but I'm reading, it's a J. But that's all right. No, that's all right. I read a book about her, very interesting. Her with William and Clark. William Clark and the expedition and all that. So actually, that's really cool. What did you want to tell me about her?
I was just gonna say she's one of the more like known Native Americans.
She is a known one, and she was a great guide for the William and Clark and Lewis. So that was cool. All right, hunt. I think we went over that hunt with all that in there. Does it say farming and paint?
I wrote farming.
Okay, what's farming? Shh. What do you mean by that?
I mean, now that I think about it, it's more like they gathered stuff, but like they had crops.
They did have crops. I mean, they taught the English over how to plant different crops. One of the more popular ones is corn, but they had a bunch of other ones as well. And they did collect berries and other things. They had gatherers. And what's paint?
They didn't actually use paint, but how they would like squish the raspberries or like break and put it like on their faces.
Okay. And when did they do that? Do you know or no? All right. Yes.
It's called work food.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's not what you would consider paint, like you said. But that was a good way to explain it. Good. All right. So these are all things when we discussed the 3 books, which are Squanto's Journey, Sacagawea, and Bear Walker. Now, actually, a lot of this stuff will be on here. Good morning. So yesterday we worked on creating schema about Native Americans. We went over all our answers, dispelled anything that was incorrect, and honestly you all did a very nice job. No one had information that was far-fetched, so I was very proud of you. You've obviously learned a bit throughout the years, so that's good. Today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be researching Joseph Brock. He is an author of the 3 stories that we are going to be reading. They are, again, Squanto's Journey, Sacagawea, and Bear Walker. So what you're going to do is everyone's going to be getting this worksheet. Everyone should already have it at the computer table. You're going to go on and you're going to look up Joseph. Barack, you're going to find out his background, when he was born, when and if he died. Books by the author. You're going to write down all the books that you can find that he has written. You're going to write down the genre that he writes usually in. He may write in a variety of different genres, but you're going to write down the one that he mostly does. And how do you know that? How do you know that's the one that he prefers or mostly does? Okay? And then you're going to put a picture right here. You're going to print it out in black and white, and we'll glue it on there. You are going to work with your partner for 42 minutes. And then after that, I'll collect the papers. You'll do one paper per group with both names on it, and that's what you'll be graded on. So go ahead and get started. Today's lesson is going to be Squanto's Journey by Joseph Barack. And I'm going to read this to you and show you the pictures. Squanto's Journey. My story is both strange and true. I was born in the year the English call 1590. My family were leaders of the Potuxet people, and I too was raised to lead. But in 1614 I was taken to Spain against my will. Now it is 1621, and I'm again in my homeland. My name is Squanto. I would like to tell you my tale. I look up and watch a heron fly overhead. It goes towards the falls that gave our people their name. We were the Potuxet the people of the falls. Our cleared fields were not empty of people then, as they were when the English pilgrims landed in the freezing moon of 1620. Only 6 winters have passed, but so many things have changed. I remember that day in 1614. White men had come often to fish in our bay and trade. They had brought us fine things in exchange for beaver and deerskins. This time, when their tall ships with sails like the wings of giant birds anchored off shore, this time was different. John Smith was one of the English captains. He and his officer Thomas Dermer traded with us. I liked the way Dermer shook my hand. Smith had learned much from dealing with other Indians in the summer land of Virginia. He knew we valued honor. The other captain was Thomas Hunt. After Smith left, Hunt landed at Potuxet. He told us that he was friends with Smith. Come to my feast on my ship, he said. More than 20 of us went on board to share food with friends. But Hunt was no friend. He set sail, taking us with him as captives. Behind, we left our families, our homes, our people. Our lives were no longer our own. Soon we were crossing the wet, salt waters. The journey was long, but my spirit did not desert me. I remembered I was beneath a man of courage. I told stories to my young people and urged them to stay strong. Hunt took us to Malaga in the land of Spain. There we were sold to be slaves, but men who served the Creator lived near. It was they who called themselves brothers who freed us from our chains. I learned more of their language. I let them teach me about their ways of thanking their great mystery. I told them that I wanted to return home. With the friar's help, I went to England. English ships often sailed towards the sunset. I realized that if I could be of use to England, they might take me with them. Who do you think they refer to? Who are they referring to when they say the Creator or the great mystery? Think about that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. It took much work, but I learned the language well. In March of the year they called 1619, I sailed back to New England at the side of my friend Thomas Dermer, one of John Smith's officers. Our memories of each other were like the taste of good water. He told me that things were not well between my people of the First Light and the English. Englishmen and their ships were now being attacked when they came to shore. Perhaps if I accompanied them, I could speak with the Indians and they could trade again in peace. My heart felt as if it were soaring on an eagle's wings as a ship cut through the waves, but it also feared what I might find. What is that when my heart felt as if it were soaring on an eagle's wings? Good job, simile, very nice. Remember, if anytime you hear figurative language, let me know, remind me, because I want you guys to hear it and recognize it when you listen to it and when you read it by yourself. Now, only this may remain. He folded back all but 2 fingers. It proved, as he said, the sickness had come down upon the Pawtucks like the blow of a war club. Only a few people have survived. My wife, my children, my parents, and all the closest to me were gone. I will not say their names now. I will speak them again when my own feet climb the highest mountain, and I will walk the road of stars to greet them. Think about how you might feel if you came home and your whole family had been killed. It must be very upsetting, and that's why you can see in that picture that that drawer illustrated it for him to look very upset. Together, Thomas Demurr and I did our work. We made friendly contact with the Nemasket and the Pokanoket. More than once, my words saved the life of my English friend. Peace seemed within our reach. But Ipanau, the powerful Sakim of Kapawak, viewed the English as one might a deadly serpent. Ipanau, too, had been taken to England as a slave and brought back to act as a guide. He had escaped and vowed to always fight the white men. The deeds of our Englishmen convinced his people that he was right. In the summer of 1620, as Thomas Demurr and I talked of peace, an English captain invited a party of Indians on board their ship. Then suddenly the white men shot them down. When we reached the island of Kapawak, Ipanau and his warriors attacked us. Many English were killed. Thomas Demurr was wounded. With my help, he was able to escape, but I was taken captive and given the Pokanoket as a prisoner. That November, when the Mayflower reached the shore, the Pokanoket watched. They did not come close to the English. If the Pokanoket had been stronger, they may have attacked the white men, wiped them out, or driven them away. But the Pokanoket were still weak from the great sickness. Where there had been thousands, now there were only hundreds. The strength of our people was so small now that the Narragansett to the south, untouched by the plague themselves, ordered the once proud Pokanoket and Nemaskets to play them tribute. I spoke to Masat, the Sakum of the Pokanoket, as a beast should with respect and honor. Befriend the English, I said. Make them come to understand and support our people. Messias did not listen at first. He watched silently through that window. Then Samoset came to visit. He was a Sachem of Pemaquid people who lived farther up the coast. He had done much trading with the English. He knew some of their language. Let me talk with the Songolamazinak, he said to Messiah. Nodding to me as he spoke, Messiah agreed. The next day, March 16th of 1621, Samoset strode into the English settlement. Welcome, English, he said in their tongue. He showed them the 2 arrows in his hand. One had a flint arrowhead. The other had the arrowhead removed. The arrows symbolized what we offer them, either war or peace. The English placed a coat about his shoulders to warm him. They invited him into their houses. They gave him small water, biscuit, and butter, pudding, and cheese. The food was good, Samoset said to me later, laughing as he spoke. I decided to spend the night. When he left the next day, he promised to return with a friend who spoke their language well. So it was that 5 days later, on the 22nd of March, I walked with Samoset back into my village. Once Pawtucks, now it was Plymouth. I looked around me. Though much was changed, I knew that I, at last, had returned to the land of my home. Perhaps these men can share our lands as friends, I told my brother at my side. Bokenuk freed me to be a guide and interpreter for the English. Not only did I act as ebony between the English and our people, I also had many things to teach the white people about survival. They knew little of hunting and almost nothing of planting. It had also been the job of the Patuxent women to care for the crops while men, such as myself, hunted. But I had observed much in the years since my captivity. I had seen in Newfoundland how the English learned from our people how to grow corn. Use the small fish that wash up on the shores in great numbers, I told the Englishmen. Bury those fish in the earth and they will feed the corn. I showed them how to plant the seeds of corn and beans and squash together in hills. I told them when it was the moon of hoeing. They listened well and worked hard. I came to see that these pilgrims could be our friends and we theirs. Together we might make our home on this land given to us by the Creator of all things. A good harvest was brought in this fall. Some of their English crops had not done well. But the three sisters, the corn, the beans, and the squash, have done well. As I looked at the beans growing up about the stalks of the corn, I think of how our two people have become intertwined. I felt hope for our children in the seasons to come. With our hope, the English have learned enough of hunting and fishing to provide the food for a great feast, such as this one. This feast for all people. Now as we eat together, I give thanks. I have seen more in my life than most men. Whether Indian or English, I have seen both death and life come to this land, give itself to English and Indian alike. I pray that there will be many more such days to give thanks together in the years that follow. I am Squanto. I am known to all those who gather here. English, Bokenuk, Nemask, even a few of my own surviving Patuxent. I speak to you as a Pisnese, a man of honor. I will never leave this land. I give thanks for all of our people to the Creator of all things. Okay, what I want us to do is I want us to write our summary, and then we're going to get together and we're going to discuss the summary orally. So right now what you want to do is just jot down some ideas of the summary. You want to put plot points, different ideas as you read the story, what happened. Okay? And then we're going to discuss them. And we'll write them on the board, and then we'll discuss them some more, and that will give us another good idea of Squanto's journey, as well as Joseph Brock's writing. We are going to be doing 4 groups. 2 groups reading Bear Walker, and 2 groups reading Sacagawea. There's a lot of fun activities that we will be doing with this. It's a good amount of reading, but I think you'll find it interesting. Both books are really good, and they kept my interest the whole time. So I'm excited to read them with you. Okay, go ahead and get started with your points.